Populism is a strategy that might work on a short run in favor of the one using it, but in terms of a state, it is always a bad idea. Good afternoon, this is Henry Keane giving you the hard truth in easy terms here in UATV English studio for the whole free world, directly from Ukraine as usual. Mariana Bezugla, the Deputy Chair of the Parliamentary Committee on National Security, Defence and Intelligence, called for the resignation of the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, Valery Zaluzhny. This is widely discussed in the media and, pretty much everywhere. Mariana Bezugla, just by the way, as a Parliament member and Deputy Chair of the Parliamentary Committee on National Security, of course, has all the connections necessary to communicate to the General Staff directly. However, she somehow used a public realm. Why? Doesn't Mrs. Bezugla know that the enemy immediately turns any shade even of public discord amongst Ukrainians to its advantage and makes efforts to deepen it? So why then? Why are we all, citizens, international journalists, executive officials, parliament members, generals, soldiers, all equally strive to bring the Ukrainian victory closer and achieve it as effectively as possible, but Mariana Bezugla seems to see the whole picture in her own point of view and strives for her own victory, a public one, obviously. After the Russian full-scale invasion, Ukrainians demonstrated unbelievable unity and bravery, and it was exactly that unity and bravery that broke the enemy plans to occupy Ukraine easily. The war is on right now, and it cannot be spelled out in advance. We cannot just cast a spell of victory and make parliament members like Mrs. Bezugla happy. The war has its victories and defeats, which you revise and find new solutions. And one more thing. The state is effective when laws are enforced and officials act within the area of their powers and responsibilities. Otherwise, it is irresponsible. Valery Zaluzhny never asked Mariana Bezugla for anything. He doesn't have time. He's busy with his own area of his own responsibilities. He leads a counteroffensive where he has to win on behalf of 40 million Ukrainians craving for that. Also, personnel policy in the field of security and defense is the prerogative of the President of Ukraine solely, so politicians should be aware of their own area of responsibility, even when guided by good intentions, since the road to hell is paved exactly with that kind of intentions. The launch of the grain corridor without Russia is one of Ukraine's greatest achievements in 2023. This strengthens the Ukrainian economy and Kyiv's position in the international arena, saves people from hunger around the world. In turn, Switzerland will allocate more than €3 million to the World Food Programme, which, through the Grain from Ukraine initiative, promotes the export of Ukrainian grain to those who need it the most. Ukrainian patrol boats will convoy ships that will pass through the Black Sea grain corridor.
Russia has no place in the International Maritime Organization, nor in its governing bodies, because no one in recent decades has caused greater harm to free navigation than Russia. It must be held accountable for this, and such accountability of the aggressor will guarantee the preservation of global trust in our organization. Volodymyr Zelensky, President of Ukraine, added to the participants of the Assembly of the International Maritime Organization.
The European Commission will provide Ukraine with extra €50 million for restoration of ports destroyed by Russian terrorist attacks. Odessa Oblast will be protected by additional air defense systems. Ukraine has already agreed with partners on that. Ukraine also welcomes the initiatives of Romania, Bulgaria and Turkey to trawl coastal waters from mines. The Black Sea is Ukrainian, and Ukrainian, as well as we can see, means safe and working. The Russian oil business finally began to experience difficulties in turn, finding all tankers for transportation after the United States began to impose sanctions against the Kremlin's shadow fleet and launched an investigation that covered 36 ships carriers all over the world. Reuters writes about this on November 26. Oil companies that export through the ports of the Baltic Sea cannot find tankers for part of its cargo to be shipped in November. According to Reuters, there have been no interruptions in the supply of oil so far, but the cost of freight has increased significantly already. According to the source, the problems have already begun in the oil products markets with the physical availability of marine vessels for transportation for some dates. 3 major Greek tanker companies, Minerva Marine, The Namaris and TMS tankers have refused to work with Russians, says Reuters. Greek shipping magnates who own a fleet of 100 tankers capable of handling almost all export oil from the western ports of the Russian Federation like Primorsk, Ust-Luga and Novorossiysk continue to transport Russian oil even after almost all Western companies left the market, the publication says. Then something happened, obviously, and Greeks changed their hearts and minds all at once. I wonder, could that be because the United States finally put some pressure on them? Well, Russian oil is forced to increasingly rely on the shadow fleet these days, old scrapped tankers that sail literally through the loopholes in the international sanctions with their transponders turned off to evade sanctions. And traders fear the ship shortage could worsen. The shadow fleet may not be enough to transport all of Russia's oil. Amen to that. The case with Scythian gold treasures, which lasted almost 10 years, was finally resolved in favor of Ukraine. Real treasures were brought back to Ukraine, ancient sculptures, Scythian and Sarmatian jewelry, Chinese lacquer boxes, which are 2,000 years old. Ukraine has begun the process of bringing back its own cultural heritage and will seek the return of all Ukrainian artifacts stolen and illegally taken by Russia. The Ministry of Culture and Information Policy of Ukraine has agreed with the Allard Pearson Museum in the Netherlands to return to Ukraine the exhibition of the archaeological exhibition widely known as Scythian gold.
The Scythian gold is the most valuable Ukrainian collection that Russia failed to appropriate. The collection has already been cleared through customs in Ukraine. Our diplomats, lawyers, representatives of the culture sphere, law enforcement officers and intelligence services have conducted extensive work to return these values. The 565 items that have been returned will be added to the collection. We believe that after the return of Crimea, these artifacts will come back home. We are grateful to the global community which stands in solidarity with Ukraine. Rostislav Karandeyev, Acting Minister of Culture and Information Policy of Ukraine.
The Pearson Museum transported the artifacts of 4 Crimean museums, which had been presented at the exhibition Crimea Gold and Secrets of Black Sea from February to August 2014, to the National Museum of the History of Ukraine. The decision to return the Crimea artifacts to Ukraine and not to Russia, which demanded it actually, has been tested in all the courts of the Netherlands and can be considered legally flawless. The decision of the courts of the Netherlands once again proves the obvious fact. In case anyone still needs a proof of it, Crimea is Ukrainian, and the temporary Russian occupation does not give Moscow any right to encroach on the Crimean parts of the historical and cultural heritage of the people of Ukraine. After the annexation of Crimea, Russia, together with the heads of the seized museums, insisted on the return of artifacts to the annexed territory, but the courts of the Netherlands decided that the legal owner of the artifacts are us, the people of Ukraine. The stumbling block preventing the exhibits from returning to the mainland was the debt for almost 10 years of their storage in the Dutch museum. However, the museum also just wrote off debts for storing Ukrainian artifacts just recently. Thank you, Netherlands. Now there are no obstacles to this. Ukrainian historical heritage is coming back to where it belongs, to Ukraine. It was Henry Keane on UATV English, hoping to give you the hard truth in easy enough terms on a daily wrap-up today. Please comment, like and subscribe. Don't hesitate. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Your opinion matters a lot to us. Stay safe and tune for more. See you soon.